Hey everybody, it's Mr. Marshall at Stony Lane. If you saw my last video, you saw that I was working on writing informational writing, the kind of writing that teaches someone about something that I know a lot about that they may not know a lot about, um, and gets them to understand it. Okay, it's like writing nonfiction, and sometimes that's in an all about book, and sometimes that's in a wiki. Um, but whatever it is, it's there to teach someone something. Okay, and so I'm going to read you part of what I'm writing. I'm writing about something I know a lot about, which is Saturday morning cartoons from when I was a kid, right? And so there's a chapter in my writing that's all about Scooby Doo. Do you love Scooby Doo? I love Scooby Doo. Anyway, Scooby Doo was always fun to watch. So here's my writing about Scooby Doo. Ready? I have a lot of writing in this chapter so far. It says, there is always a ghost or a monster who the gang tries to catch. Fred usually puts together a long trap with lots of steps that the characters use to catch the bad guy at the end of every episode. Okay. Shaggy and Scooby usually are the ones who have to lead the bad guy to the trap. They're pretty scared to do it, but the other characters can get them to do whatever they need to do by promising them a bunch of Scooby snacks. It can be pretty hard getting Scooby to be brave enough to do this. Fred, Daphne, and Velma had to promise him 50 Scooby snacks in the episode where they were trying to catch the ice cream goblin. Okay? So, great stuff, right? So, but sometimes if you're the kind of writer that I am, you have really long sentences. And if you try to notice the stuff that's in your sentences, you might notice that near the end of some of these long sentences are like when something happened. Let me show you. I noticed that in my own writing. Like here, it says there is always a ghost to catch or a monster. Let's see. Fred usually puts together a long trap with lots of steps the characters use to catch the bad guy at the end of every episode. So I'm seeing like at the end of this sentence, right? I've got the words at the end of every episode. Do you see that? So I want my reader to really know that that's when that happens. And it can kind of get lost in that sentence because the sentence is so long. So there's another way that I can get them to notice that the end is when that happens. It's pretty important because that's how Scooby Doo goes. What I can do is I can take the part that says at the end of every episode and put that at the beginning of my sentence so that the readers really notice, right? And so listen to how that sounds. Fred usually puts together a long trap with lots of steps that the characters use to catch the bad guy at the end of every episode. Instead, I can say at the end of every episode, comma, Fred usually puts together a long trap with lots of steps that the characters use to catch the bad guy. Okay, it kind of makes both parts stand out. Where before they kind of like all got mushed together, you may not have noticed that it was at the end of the episode, right? You may not have noticed that it was to catch the bad guy. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip this sentence. So I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put at the end of every episode. And if you're doing this on a Google Doc, you can just cut and paste. So I can say at the end of every episode, comma, Fred usually puts together a long trap with lots of steps that the characters use to catch the bad guy. Period. Okay. Do you see how I'm doing that? You see I'm taking the when from the end of my sentence and putting it at the beginning? Okay, let's try it a little bit later down here. It can be pretty hard getting Scooby to be brave enough to do this. Look at this. Fred, Daphne, and Velma had to promise him 50 Scooby snacks in the episode where they were trying to catch the ice cream goblin. Okay, so like you may like I want people to know that the ice cream goblin was like a great episode, but people like aren't going to notice that, or they may not notice that it was 50, right? So I want them to notice both. So I'm going to take the when part and put it at the beginning. Let's see how it sounds. I'm going to start here. In the episode where they were trying to catch the ice cream goblin, comma, Fred, Daphne, and Velma had to promise him 50 Scooby snacks. See, like, I like that better because then they're noticing both parts. They're noticing the ice cream goblin part and they're noticing the 50 Scooby snack part. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that part of my writing and stick it in the beginning of the sentence. Right there, okay? So it says, in the episode where they were trying to catch the ice cream goblin, comma, Fred, Daphne, and Velma had to promise him 50 Scooby snacks. So, but when I do that, I got to put a comma in between those two parts. Okay, that's just how that goes. That's how we use commas. Okay, so think about that when you're revising your draft in nonfiction writing. Sometimes you can take what's at the end of the sentence and put it at the beginning with a comma, and it'll make your reader notice the whole thing. Okay, sometimes it works. Sometimes it's not that important. It's not like one way is right and one way is wrong. It's all about what I want my reader to notice. That's one of the decisions that I have to make as a writer, right? It's going to make my writing feel different and sound different and look different. But that's part of the fun, making those decisions so that my reader can notice what I want them to notice. Okay, try that out, and I'll see you next time.